Welcome back. So we're still with Moses Roper, and he refuses to stay enslaved and keeps running away. Good for him. Let me jump in. The first night I slept in a barn upon Mr. Crawford's estate, and having overslept myself, was awoke by Mr. Crawford's overseer, upon which I was dreadfully frightened. He asked me what I was doing there, and I made no reply to him then, and he, making sure that he had secured a runaway slave, did not press me for an answer. On my way to his house, however, I made up the following story, which I told him in the presence of his wife. I said that I had been bound to a very cruel master when I was a little boy, and that having been treated very badly, I wanted to get home to see my mother. This statement may appear to some to be a direct lie, but as I understood the word bound, I considered it to apply to my case, having been sold to him, and thereby bound to serve him, though still I rather hoped that he would understand it, that I was bound when a boy till 21 years of age, so he was passing for white. My problem with his statement is that he seems to think it's necessary to justify lying. All fair in love and war, they say, and in Jamaica we say, thief from thief, God laugh. If you steal people, steal their labor, they're free to tell you any lie to get out of your grasp. Though I was white at the time, he would not believe my story on account of my hair being curly and woolly, which led him to conclude I was possessed of enslaved blood, white meaning light skin for him. The overseer's wife, however, who seemed very interested in me, said she did not think I was of African origin, and that she had seen white men still darker than me. You see, these people knowing that slavery is about race, because if he's not from Africa, they're not fine with enslaving him. Moving right along, her persuasion prevailed, and after the overseer had given me as much buttermilk as I could drink and something to eat, which was very acceptable, having had nothing for 2 days, I set off for Charlotte in North Carolina, the largest town in the county. I went on very quickly the whole of the day, fearful of being pursued. The trees were very thick on each side of the road, and only a few houses at the distance of 2 or 3 miles apart. As I proceeded, I turned round in all directions to see if I was pursued. As if I caught a glimpse of anyone coming along the road, I immediately rushed into the thickest part of the wood to elude the grasp of what I was afraid might be my master. I went on in this way the whole day. At night I came up with 2 wagons. They had been to market. The regular road wagons do not generally put up in inns, but encamp in the road and fields. When I came to them, I told them the same story I had told Mr. Crawford's overseer, with the assurance that the statement would meet the same success. After they had heard me, they gave me something to eat and also a lodging in the camp with them. I then went on with them about 5 miles, and they agreed to take me with them as far as they went, if I would assist them. This I promised to do. In the morning, however, I was much frightened by one of the men putting several questions to me. We were then about 3 miles from Charlotte. When within a mile of that town, we stopped at a brook to water the horses. While stopping there, I saw the men whispering, and fancying I overheard them say they would put me in Charlotte's jail when they got there, I made my escape into the woods, pretending to be looking after something till I got out of their sight. I then ran as fast as I could, but did not go through the town of Charlotte, as had been my intention. Being a large town, I was fearful it might prove fatal to my escape. Here I was at a loss how to get on, as houses were not very distant from each other for nearly 200 miles. While thinking what I should do, I observed some wagons before me, which I determined to keep behind, and never go nearer to them than a quarter of a mile. In this way I traveled till I got to Salisbury. If I happened to meet any person on the road, I was afraid they would take me up. I asked them how far the wagons had got on before me, to make them suppose I belonged to the wagons. At night I slept on the ground in the woods, some little distance from the wagon, but not near enough to be seen by the men belonging to them. All this time I had but little food, principally fruit, which I found on the road. On Thursday night I got into Salisbury, having left Chester on the Monday morning preceding. After this, being afraid my master was in pursuit of me, I left the usual line of road and took another direction through Unterville and Salem, principally through fields and woods. On my way to Caswell Courthouse, a distance of nearly 200 miles from Salisbury, I was stopped by a white man to whom I told my old story, and again succeeded in my escape. I also came up with a small cart driven by a poor man who had been moving into some of the western territories and was going back to Virginia to move some more of his luggage. On this, I told him I was going the same way to Hilton, 13 miles from Caswell Courthouse. He took me up in his cart and we went to Red House, 2 miles from Hilton, the place where Mr. Mitchell took me from when 6 years old to go to the southern state. So I'm going to stop right there. And you see him using his lighter complexion as a way of passing in his escape. We know that he faced a lot of hardship on the plantation, but we also see he has a privilege that he used for a tool of escape. And all we can say, use whatever you have to use, do whatever you have to do to get free. Tell me what you think. Thanks so much for listening.